So I just really wanted to quickly run through, since the goal of this whole engine thing was to make a tank game, just wanted to run through the tank game entities that I created. So first up, the base enemy. Um, it's the enemy tank that we see roaming around. So yeah, um, it's pretty simple, honestly. It's very much like the player tank, except it's not input driven. Instead of that, it uses the nav map that I made um, to navigate the world, and then when it gets within a certain set view distance, it triggers. If it can fire, it fires. Um, its turret rotation is always set towards the player. Um, yeah. So then it draws its turret, uh, its its body. Um, Here we can see the two different. So this is an example of the user side of like in object showing collision volumes. So we can show the user collision volume, which is an OBB. It uses an alarm to tell if it's able to fire again. Um, the collision despawns it, so and fire ready is false when it can actually fire. Submits a new alarm. Um, yeah. Uh, so let's go to, for example, the factory. Here's an example of how I use the factories. Now, for my factories, what I do is I keep a list, so just a stack of the object, or pointers to the object, that are created at the beginning. So, for instance, the enemy bullet factory creates 100 bullets at the very beginning, and then it fires the bullet, and it actually pops it off of the stack because now the bullet will be registered with the scene, and if I went through and deleted um, in the actual list, it would be trying to delete it twice, basically, which would not be good. And then when it deactivates the bullet, it pushes it back onto the stack. Now, I do something very similar with the enemy. I create a bunch of enemies that are spawned. Yeah. Uh, so it initializes, it pushes a bunch of enemies on, uh, and if um, uh, and then the enemies go out. They're popped off the stack after in the spawn method. So right here, and then when the enemies come back, they get pushed back onto the stack in despawn right here. So it's the exact same thing as the bullet factory. The player bullet factory actually only uses a different kind of factory. It only uses one bullet, um, and uh, so it doesn't have to uh, it doesn't have to create more than one bullet, basically. Yeah. So because the player only has one bullet to fire. Uh, Now let's look at the regular tank body. So this is the player character, or at least the tank body of the player character. It's updatable, drawable, inputable, collidable. Can take damage. Get rotation. Um, so basically, what we do here is entry, registering with all the things with the scene, exit, deregistering all the things with the scene, collision with the bullet, respawning, so it sets its respawn position to a set position, if it's not dead. So this right here is for when the God Cam is created, which is used by the player manager, and we'll take a look at that in a second. So yeah. So obviously the input, none of these things, this hasn't really changed. So let's look at the tank turret really quick. Tank turret is actually only inputable and collidable. I don't update or draw because in the tank body, I call the turret draw since it should be drawn at the same time because I count it as a child of the tank. And in the update, it also calls set position, which is basically the tank turret's update. And this is actually connected to the bullet factory for creating the player bullets. Yeah, I use the mouse to move left and right. And then I also use this to set the camera position. That's why it follows it backwards and forwards. I found that was a lot easier to do than if I were to try to do it in the actual tank body. You can also use space. I overrid that so that I could be doing something else with my hand as well. And then obviously, draw. Yeah, but the draw method, as we can see right there, is not actually a child of it. It is, or not actually drawable. It's just called in tank body for draw. So let's look at the static. This is the static. This is my building. It's the house model. I was going to use other buildings, but they ended up actually not being the correct model type, which is very disappointing. So, yeah, this is just drawable because it's also collidable. Sorry, but nothing happens when on this object when something collides with it. As we can see, very basic, very basic. Now the controller, the scene controller. This is just for changing scenes. I just hit backspace to change the scene. And it just calls scene manager, go to next scene. The scene manager, actually, it didn't really change since last quarter. There were minute changes into how scenes were dealt with. It turned out I had a memory leak, and I fixed it for deleting the new scene. So that's always good to fix those. Take a look at my God Cam really quick. God Cam. As we can see, it takes the actual camera, so it doesn't create a whole new camera for it. It just takes the camera and uses its values and then and updates those based on mouse position and also arrow input. So now there is one more thing. There's what I was forgetting. Player manager. Okay. No, player manager. Where'd you go? There it is. Player manager. So scene entry, scene exit. This is actually a singleton, but but we only want one player manager per scene. So it's kind of a scene level singleton. So it will delete its own instance when it exits the scene. Therefore, getting a whole new scene manager for the for the next scene if I wanted to play her in the next scene. Yeah. So this actually controls all the sprites for, say, the rotation sprite. So at the bottom of the screen, there's the little tank rotation. We'll start up the game just to show you it really quick. Oh boy, I'm getting pretty tired. Sorry. So yeah, so you can see at the bottom, I turned on terrain collision for the tank to show, because I also wanted to show the outer case. But actually, since I'm in here, we also have the nav map going, and we don't have any enemies spawned because I changed the demo scene for the last thing to show the nav map thing, and then I was like, oh hey, I'll show the terrain in the next one. But I'm going to drive right off the edge of the map just to show that it does not crash when I exit it, and show my complete confidence in it. It's pretty late in the video, so if it went wrong, that would be bad. But it didn't go wrong because it catches it, which is great. So now I'll go back down in. So yeah, that's pretty sure it's everything. Oh man, I forgot to actually point out actually I probably didn't need to, but it's already starting up now, so I might as well point out the and you can view this in I think in the first video I actually play a little bit of the game for the lives. The lives go down. There's little images in the corner for your lives right down in here, and then here's the rotation for it. That little bumpiness is sometimes the calculation for the edge is not quite right. AKA, it thinks you're on one of two triangles. So that is one problem. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does happen. And so it thinks you're on the calculation, I think, for the triangle is when you're right on the edge is a little off. But obviously I'll show the different triangle for like, say, hey, now I'm on, it would be bouncing quite heavily if it was always wrong, but it's not. Yeah. So that I think just about does it. I'll finish this off with going in here, initializing more tanks. So I mean, this is just, it's such a big area that I'll do 50 tanks. And then I also need to actually change this to be the real size, comment that out, and then we'll play the game and show that, tanks can be destroyed, your tank lives can go down, and hopefully we might even see some enemies avoiding the buildings, because they do, and it's great, and that just adds to the niceness of the whole navigation map thing. So there's an example of the navigation map is still set to 300. So we just saw it. See, they go over, they navigate over objects, which is pretty fantastic. Dee, come here. No, stop. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to figure out how to get things to rotate gradually towards a object. So when they're going towards multiple points, there, I got it. They they quickly turn, and the enemies quickly turn. So it looks kind of funky, as we can see. That being said, they do go on diagonals, so let it be known. uh, yeah. I should have also put a hitbox on their actual barrel. That was a mistake. I am learning. But anyway, um, yeah. So this is I think that just about does it for the whole engine. Yeah, I wasn't able to get the documentation to work this quarter because Autonomir, first off, wants to give my computer a terrible case of the cold because the trial ran out. And two, uh, to add insult to injury, Doxygen has also failed to work, and so I just didn't I didn't have time to add more to the documentation because I couldn't figure that out in time. But anyway, such is life. So that's the game. That's the engine. This has been a very educational experience in class. I know I wasn't in class very much, but I did read the PowerPoints, and I did just about all the projects. I did have some trouble remembering to submit them uh, on the dates. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching.